Hello, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about my experience with the Atlantic Park Wave Pool in Virginia Beach. It is currently the only wave garden in North America. Wave Garden's a company that does wave pools around the world. There are other wave pools in the US, but this is the only specific wave garden. So I think a lot of people were looking forward to the opening of the wave pool. Not really Virginia Beach residents. There's a bunch of controversy with, I guess the Virginia Beach residents were taxed for the wave pool. There were a lot of surfers expressing interest online about this new wave pool in Virginia Beach. They went a bit over schedule for the wave pool, of course. I mean, most projects go that way. It was supposed to be ready in May 2025. It didn't open until August 2025. I booked a ticket a few days after they opened. They didn't put out very much stuff about them being open finally. There were a lot of people there when I went. I went on a Saturday. I'm going to talk about the whole process and everything. You have to pre-book. I booked a ticket for the novice section, which online it sounded like it would fit me because I'm kind of a beginner plus. I'm not a beginner, but I can, turn on waves and stuff like that. And I'll go over the sessions as much as I can, as much as I observed. So first things first, they emailed me my ticket. I was supposed to get a waiver, never got one. I searched through and everything. There were no directions whatsoever on my email. There's nothing about parking or, lockers, anything like that. When I drove down there, there were two streets next to the wave pool that were next to Atlantic Park that were under construction. So you couldn't even access it. So you had to go all the way around. Some of the streets were like one-way streets. And I paid for parking. I ended up paying for parking all day long at this lot. And since it was near the beach, it was kind of expensive. The parking garage at Atlantic Park is still under construction, or it was as of August 2025 when I went there. They also have hotel rooms that you eventually will be able to rent that overlook the pool. Those were not ready yet. They're supposed to be shopping. That's not ready yet. But most people are interested in the wave pool. So their signage outside also could be better. They had little, yard signs out, and that was about it. I saw people carrying surfboards and I just followed them basically. So got to the lobby. Whoever designed this lobby clearly has no experience event planning, and that was kind of the common theme that I ran into. So they had the check-in, like the cashiers where you check in, they had them right next to the turnstiles where you go into the locker room. So people were lined up in front of the cashiers to check in, and then they'd have to move out of the way every few seconds for people going in and out of the locker rooms, changing rooms, whatever. They should install some of those snake line, I don't know what they're called, like they have at the airport or at a bank where they put the, kind of rope things out, retractable. I will say all the employees I encountered were pretty friendly. The lifeguards, the instructors, the cashiers. When I checked in, they asked for my waiver and they're like, oh yeah, we sent it to you. I checked later. They never sent me a waiver. So they handed me a tablet to fill out, which was fine. But I can imagine if there's a lot of people, that would be an issue. The locker rooms and changing rooms were really clean. I was in the women's one. There, of course, weren't many women there because there just aren't very many female surfers. You can rent a locker, but they told me you really don't need to. So I just left my stuff on a beach chair that I claimed all day. Showers were really clean. Kind of that modern prison chic design inside the locker room. Like it's a cement wall type thing. I don't know. That's really popular right now. So the locker rooms, at least in the women's area, I assume the men's area was the same. Locker rooms and changing area were quite small. The lagoon part, so anybody can go in the lagoon part for $25. So if you have family members that want to come with you, they can pay $5, get a lounge chair. There were also cabanas available. Can't remember how much they were. They were expensive, maybe $500. They did have a kids pool, which is nice. The food truck was good. Theme park prices. I don't think you were allowed to bring in your own food. So apparently you can buy some surf clips from the park itself. You have to go to Flow State. I'll link that down below, but you can select the date you surfed, what kind of session you're in, pro, novice, beginner, etc., and purchase it. But people did have filmers. I think sometimes it was just like family members or, significant others that were filming with nice cameras. They got a little wristband for $25. The wristband, it is reusable. There were lots of beach chairs and cushion chairs available for you to lounge out on. I just stuck my board next to me and kept my backpack there, and nobody messed with. Food truck took cards and Apple Pay, but no cash. Kids pool was 4 feet deep. Drinking fountains did not work, that at least in August when I was there. And you had to buy water, these mini Fiji bottles, and it was $4 per water. Okay, so moving on to my session, I did the progressive section, which was, according to the description, sounded like it'd be perfect for me. It was way too big for me. I noticed I did 2 different sessions. I did the progressive and then I think the novice, which was the next lowest one after beginner, and the waves in each session seemed way too big for the skill level, and people in the session were kind of like, yeah, this is a little big for me. So I think it would have helped if they had a video snippet beneath each session, like viewable on their website before you booked it and everything. That would be quite helpful. So I went into the progressive session, and granted, this was the first few days the park was open. There were no instructions whatsoever. We just paddled out. Apparently we had instructors. I couldn't tell. They weren't wearing different rash guards or anything. Maybe that's changed in the last 2 months. I just followed everybody else, and then I managed to catch the first wave that I paddled into, and it was big. It was way too big for me. And then I rode my board. It's just a cheap soft top board, cement bottom on the pool. And I rode the board like all the way up onto there's like a beach part, but it's concrete, or it's asphalt. I scraped myself up a little bit, whatever. The wave pool in New York, or in New Jersey, excuse me, Scoot and Surf, they have like, I think it's epoxy for the bottom of their pool. Their pool is much more shallow. And I was kind of surprised that this wave pool did not have more epoxy, at least in the section where you catch the waves. I went to the surf shop afterward, and one of the employees was telling me the wave pool had only been open for 4 days at this point. He told me there were so many people coming in with stitches, busted open heads. I ended up smashing my board against the side of the wave pool, busting off a fin, just getting all scraped up, and I was wearing 2 rash guards. All right, to continue on the progressive session that I was in, the waves were really close together, and I kind of hate that about wave pools. You get worn out really quick. So you paddle, and then they're like, go, 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 and they make you paddle around, and it's just not a very organic experience. It kind of takes the fun out of surfing. So I don't like that part. Plus the smashing into the bottom of the wave pool. Yeah, I ended up cutting open my foot and my knee. I didn't realize how bad it was because I was in the water, but there was some blood. And then when I came out, a little bit TMI, there was like a flap of skin. So I cleaned it out, and then I went to go get a pedicure later. Nail tech this is really deep. And so he cleaned it out with some, I don't know what it was. He cleaned it out with like soap and water and some other stuff. Ended up just putting a bandage over it and wrapping my foot for a week or several days, I guess. Yeah, so the waves in the progressive section were steep and close together, and a lot of people got smashed or left early. I was one of them. I caught the first wave, like I said, and then after that, I kept getting just clobbered. This is unsafe. And then I was in the way of other people, and I don't want to be that person. So I ended up getting out. This is dangerous for me. This is dangerous for other people because people were falling on top of each other. But I didn't want that to be my only experience at the wave pool. So I bought a session for later that afternoon for the novice session, which is just above beginner. Those waves were still quite big. So it was basically, if you had taken a lesson before, first ever surf lesson, you were qualified for the novice section. In my opinion, those waves were too big for somebody who had only surfed a few times. They did have an instructor pushing people into the waves, which was nice because my arms were absolutely done after being in the morning session and everything. And so I couldn't paddle in very well, so they were pushing me, which was quite nice. Managed to catch a few waves that way. Would I go back? So I really don't like the fact that these wave pools, they encourage you or pressure you to swim, okay, you caught a wave, now just swim back in. Tired. You can't just paddle out and then relax like you can at a regular beach. Not a fan of that. Oh yeah, and each session was over $100. I think the pro sessions are more. They're like $130, $140. They also don't heat the wave pool in the winter. And you do have to wear a rash guard depending on your session. So it's color coordinated to your session. Not only will it be freezing in the winter, just like the regular ocean, but then you have to pay for it. And I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I'll go back at some point, but the waves were a little bit too big for the sessions. And I watched a video on the beginner session, hey, I've never surfed before. And they had some green waves in those sessions, which you're not supposed to put beginners in. So in conclusion, I'm going to give Atlantic Park a 3 out of 5. I think some of the kinks were due to it being opened so recently. It was, opened 3 or 4 days prior to me attending the sessions. So hopefully they have improved. I do plan on going back this winter and going surfing. But unfortunately, I just checked their website and they are closed right now due to some annual maintenance, which they did not announce prior, but whatever. So it's closed, it looks like, for the whole month of January and February. So just keep that in mind when you go to book. All right, thanks for watching.